On that passion fruit G Fuel. So, GG's.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, okay, we got audio. Hello everyone, we're going to be doing another bit around the shadows today, and when we're done, I'm going to have to seriously update the background image again, because, well, yeah, anyway, so remember this screenshot that I took last week? Well, yeah, we're gonna start, doing stuff with it. I'm gonna create a new layer off to the side, and then I'm just gonna take the, free select tool and make sure my color is set to black. And for starters, what we're gonna be doing is, well, we're just gonna start on the new layer, tracing over the outline of things we want to be a shadow. This is going to be a very simple sort of thing. But yeah. And I'm not going to be precise about it for a reason you'll see in a bit. Fill. Yeah, we're just basically going to trace over the shapes the basic outline shapes of these things. And the reason we're going to trace over them is, well, I mean, it's kind of obvious, I think. But the reason is, we're creating the outline for our shadows. And I'm not going to be exacting about about it at this stage. And I'm mostly just trying to make sure that I'm just getting the rough shapes blocked in. We're just gonna make sure. Yep, we're just gonna fill this in. The reason we're doing it this way instead of just, I don't know, doing something different? I don't know. Anyway, we're not going to worry about the specific shapes and all that for the whole thing. We're just going to create a generic kind of black outline of where we expect things to fill in. And you'll see that I'm not being exacting where there's gaps either. The reason for that is because when we're done with what we're going to be doing with this, those gaps are basically going to be very, very, very hard to even actually see. And view, and just like that, we've got one of the main bookshelf bodies done. This is a very quick and dirty process. The goal really is just to get a rough shape filled in. Yoink. The reason we're only caring about a rough shape is because it's really not gonna look like much once. I mean, it's gonna roughly look like what we want it to look like once we're done, but it's also going to not at all actually be an exact one-for-one shadow. And the reason for that is, well, we're going to blur the heck out of this. Sort of. There's going to be a lot of reshaping of how the shadows basically look with what we're going to be doing. Like, if you look at a shadow, you'll notice, like, say, if you look at a door, you'll see that as it casts light again, as light is cast against it, it has a shadow on the wall behind it, and that shadow has a really dark area and some really light areas around the edges. So that's the kind of effect that we're going to be going for here. And to do that, it's not really all that difficult. It's really, what we're really just doing is drawing a shape, and then we're gonna you'll see. Now, the question that I'm probably going to have to ask myself, and you yourselves doing your own shadow work, is at what point do I am I going to include just the one bookshelf for the one thing, or am I going to do all 3 bookshelves at once? And I think the answer to that is going to be, I'm going to do all 3 bookshelves. And we're going to do all 3 bookshelves, and we will just play it by ear on yeah, we're just going to play it by ear on how it fills in. Yeah. Oh, and here's another bit of shadow weirdness that I'm going to have to play around with is... Again, I'm not gonna worry too much about if I get my lines exactly placed. I go edit, fill. I'm not gonna worry about that bit that's in the middle there. In fact, I'm not gonna care so much about it. I'm gonna leave it intentionally blank in the middle there. No. I'm not going to be lazy about it. I'm not going to be lazy about it. I'm going to fill that in. Don't be lazy about it. Don't be lazy about it. Boom. Fit image window. Yeah, that's going to look better. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, 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 boop. I feel like I should have something in the middle shelf there, but I'm going to worry about that later. In fact, I'm going to worry about it so much later that I'm only going to worry about it when I actually have a model in there. Because I do not need to worry about it at this time. Yeah, look at that. We just filled in a big old gap. Yeah, I'll pull that up. Boop, 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 boop. Boom. View. Zoom. Fit image and window. So yeah, now we have this, which looks pretty good, if I do say so. So I'm going to set this main layer here to my regular legacy layer. But you'll notice this has a great texture in it. I'm not going to replicate the great texture exactly. I'm going to create a new layer underneath it. I'm going to select my airbrush. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select this section. And I'm going to lightly fill it in with my airbrush. Boop, 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 boop. Give it a little bit of a misting of darkness. And then I'm going to lower the opacity of that. There we go. I'm going to merge that down. Go. Now then, we've got a sort of shadow texture in there. I'm going to, again, set the opacity kind of low here. I'm going to duplicate the layer. I'm going to pull it off to the side slightly. I'm going to duplicate it again. We're going to pull it off to the side in the other direction. And hey, that looks generally kind of blurry. Now then, I'm going to merge these down. And then I'm going to lower the opacity again. I'm going to duplicate the layer. I'm going to lower the opacity on that one a bit more, actually. And then I'm going to slightly lift it up. Yep. There we go. As you can see, we're starting to get it's starting to make the shadows look a little indistinct, right? Yeah. Might be thinking, boy, that's a little too indistinct, isn't it? Well, maybe. Anyways, but you're going to look at it and you're going to say, that looks a little too jagged and artificial. Well, that's where we're going to come in with our blur smudge tool. I don't want it on smudge. I want it on blur. I'm going to come along here and I'm just going to go over it all and kind of lessen the sharpness of the lines a bit. And you see as we go along, we blur it, it becomes a little more, it looks a little less artificial and comes a little more. But there's still areas like right here in the middle where we are going to want to set that to the smudge. I'm going to lower my brush size down to like 100 here. And I'm just going to smooth it out. And come along. Oop, nope. Come along here and I'm just going to smudge that. Smudge it a bit. Yeah. And I'm going to come along here. Oop. I'm just gonna bring this up along, go, and we're just gonna lightly tap it to make sure that it all kind of congeals. Okay. View, zoom, finish window. That looks pretty good to me. Now to do one final thing, and people are probably going to be like, oh, no, why are you going to do this? First of all, I'm going to export this as pod 12 bookshelf shadow base image. And then I'm going to close, discard all those changes. But because I created a new image for it, I'm going to drop this into GIMP again. And then we're going to go Layer, Scale, and I'm going to set this to 1025 by 577, which is weird. You know, layer, let's scale that by, 512, and we're going to unchain it, and we're going to set that to 512. We're going to scale, and now, look at that, it looks all weird. Image, layer, we're going to go to image, crop to content, boom. And now we have a 512 by 512 shadow. You can see it got really indistinct, which is actually just fine for what we want. I'm going to save this as bookshelf shadow without the base image on it. Okay. We're going to close that. And I'm going to open pod 12. in Blender. So then, you'll notice I did some shadow work already for the book stand and the abduction swapper through a very similar method to what we just did. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to create a plane. Whoop. This is going to be a new texture. This is going to be our Bookshelves texture, Bookshelves trio texture. New, open. I'm going to go to... Where is it? NOP, Pod 12, Bookshelf Shadow. Tab U, unwrap. Oop, reset. There we go. This is going to be Trio Shadow. Set this to interior right group. Okay. RX 90. Boom. Now, we're going to have to try to stretch the shadow to fit against the pod wall. Now, there's a couple ways we could do that. Obviously, I could copy the mesh of the wall and just paste the texture on there. But I've had issues. But I tried that with these things here, and that really was not working out for me. I really had to just kind of make the shadows manually and try and line things up, and it. Yeah. We will get to that in a bit. So anyway, I'm gonna select the bookshelves and our wall here. No, but I also need to select that too. Okay. So, again, we're going to set our pass index. I think this time I'm going to set it to 3 for this particular texture. So, we're going to scale this up. Let's scale it out by the x-axis. Scale it up by the z-axis. Yeah, let's scale that out a bit more by the x-axis. Okay. Rotation scale. Okay. So then, let's, for starters, pull this along the back wall here and see how that roughly lines up. You'll see it really kind of doesn't. But the reason for that is because our bottom is of a narrower width than the top. And we're going to have to come in and just subdivide the hell out of this. Now, you might be thinking, Harley, wouldn't it have been easier just to do each individual bookshelf as a single shadow texture? And you'd probably be right. It probably would have been a lot easier to do it that way. But I am not about efficiencies when I do this stuff. I am about doing what feels right in the moment. And what feels right in the moment is doing this manually. Boop. And we're going to try to line up all of this manually because really it's a shadow. We kind of have to make sure the shadow lines up the way that it is expected to line up in reality. And making a shadow match reality is kind of difficult. You'll notice again we're getting some weird bits there, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to subdivide all this again. Because I can't see what I'm doing, I'm going to set this to draw wire. Yay! So, come along here with these lines. I'm gonna just stretch it back a bit. You know, we're gonna have to worry about getting all of this correct later. I'm just trying to get the general vibes in place. And we're dealing with a big old wall back here. We've got plenty of room to muck about with our shadows. Really, we want this to really kind of cling to the back of the pod here, which is kind of difficult to do. I'm going to set all these to wire for the moment. Yeah, look at this. This is not clinging to the wall at all. So, yeah, we really have to start. Really, the hard part is going to be, again, really, if it's going to be more about getting the shadow to really cling to the wall in a way that feels believable. But the thing is, the wall is curved, and again, I could theoretically make sure that I could just copy the mesh, right? Theoretically, I should be just copying the mesh, right? In theory. In theory, I really should just be copying the exact mesh and trying, rather than to make a new mesh, I just should use the old mesh. But then the problem comes in the form of UV mapping. And then I have to really, one way or another, I'm going to have to be really, really, really fussy about how this shadow is being projected on the wall. Either I'm going to have to be fussy with the mesh, which is what I'm doing here, or I'm going to have to be fussy with the UV mapping. And I'd really rather just try to be fussy with the mesh over the UV mapping. The reason I'd rather be fussy with the mesh over the UV mapping is simply just because I'm being kind of lazy about it. And honestly, I'm probably going to have to get fussy with the mesh and the UV mapping in a bit. I'm mostly just trying to get things looking generally right at the moment. Now, if you're going to be doing this on your own, I suggest you do whatever you think feels right for this sort of thing. Because what I feel like I need to be doing here may not be what you need to do for your project. Whatever your project is, be it shadowing or not. The goal here is really to just try and keep the shape against the wall feeling authentic and consistent, which is really hard to do when you can't really see all of it, isn't it? Whoop, whoop. Look here. And I'm mostly just trying to get this roughly lined up. And the thing that you're going to notice is that even though I'm trying to get the top, I'm trying to get this kind of sort of I'm mostly just trying to worry about the physical, the profile at the moment. I'm working on the horizontal at the moment more than I'm working on the vertical. And getting the horizontal right is kind of just about as tricky as getting the vertical right. Yeah, look at that. There's our shadow lining up in there. Boop. Boop. Like that. You'll notice we have a whole lot of blank white space that we're going to have to get rid of too. I think, though, I'm hitting the point where I'm going to have to start splitting this off into individual meshes, though. Yeah. Actually, no. You know what? I'm not happy with that. I'm not happy with that at all. So yeah, we're gonna do the other method, which is selecting all of these. Boom, 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 boom. We're just gonna do what I should have done in the first place. Ugh. Nope. going to duplicate, pull forward, pull slightly out, P by selection. Going to move the collision modifier on that. And I'm going to move the shadow modifier on that. And then, boop, boop. Going to be shadow, bookshelf texture. Woo, that looks horrid. Woo, yeah. Okay, tab, select all, you reset. Whoa, project from view. Project from view. Shadow. Yep. Okay. Okay, now we get to play with the fun bit of messing with the UV mesh. Okay. I'm going to start by lowering things like so. Okay. Now we're going to have to start fussing with it with this side of things rather than manually messing with the mesh, which this is what I should have done in the first place, to be honest. I really should have done this in the first place. Ugh. That's what I get for trying to be, I don't know if lazy is precisely the right word. Okay, but yeah, so we're going to have to, basically, it's counterintuitive. We're going to have to raise these, we're going to have to mess with these bits. Essentially, we're just going to start actually, no, you know what? You try sphere projection. Nope, cube projection. Smart UV projection. Ooh, hello. That works a little bit better. Well, I'm actually going to stretch this a bit and then try and get that lined up better. The first major issue I'm seeing here is that I have way too much going on along the sides. Okay, but we're gonna work on it. We're gonna work on it. So our light is up here. You notice things are really kind of stretching sideways in a way we really don't want. Yeah. select this and pull it like that. Select this and pull it like that. Select this. Let's angle that out a bit. Okay. Yeah, that's starting to look all right. Yeah, doing it with the UV mapping is definitely the better way to go, I think. Now then. I think it's you I gotta start pulling on now, yeah. The trick here is we gotta figure out our curve projection. Ooh, yeah, I think that'll do. If I pull that up like that, yeah. If I pull that. I'm just gonna pull these up out of the way, actually. Let's stretch, 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 and then pull you, yeah. Yeah, this is where things get tough with shadows, is because you gotta work with a curved surface. It's the squash and deform part of this that's really, really tricky. Look at that. This is a weird shape to try and mesh our shadows to, but we gotta do what we gotta do. I may have to try subdividing this again, to be honest. Yeah. Let's keep pulling these bits. Yeah, there we go. Pull that over like that. Pull this over like this. Pull this over to here. Pull this. I think. just going to pull all of these in like so, which is okay. Okay, I think I'm starting to figure out where things are now. Okay. Yep, okay, there we go. I'm going to have to be very careful about where we move our bits, lest we get very confused about all of this. Okay. This is where we start playing with things and hope that we get them right. Okay. Actually, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to hit subdivide again. Look at how messy this is. I'm going to come along here and just get rid of these faces right here. No. Face. There. Okay. That should make things a little more easy to deal with, I would hope. Yep. Okay. I'm going to pull all of these down to what should be ground height, just so I have more of a idea of where the bottom of this is supposed to be. Okay. Actually, I'm going to come along here. Delete those faces. Okay. Down. Okay. So, right then. So I think we have the top here very well figured out. Sure, buddy. Yes, we are doing more shadows. We're doing so many more shadows. It is ridiculous how many shadows we are doing in here. Shadow Pod Bookshelf Trio. But yeah, mainly I'm trying to get this edge all sorted out right here. Because I think my main issue at the moment is I just flat out don't. Okay. Yeah, look at this mess of a mesh I've got going on here. This is me trying to figure out where everything is, and I'm kind of dealing with this by the seat of my pants. Shadows. I mean, I'm not having to, like, make this match the whole of the pod, at least, but it's a whole lot more, of an alignment thing than it feels like it should be. Okay. I'm gonna just select these bits right here just to see where those are. And I think these bits right here I think this section is something that yeah, okay. I know where I got it. Okay, so I'm going to take this section. I'm just going to start pulling things. Okay, so I'm pretty confident that down here is, yeah, look at that. Right there is where our shadow line is. Okay. So essentially, I want to start getting all of these things as close to lined up with the edge of the shadow that it is. Oop, nope. See, this is what frickin' this is what I get for subdividing so much. I'm gonna go mesh, clean up, limited dissolve, and then Control T. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Although that just completely got rid of the line that I just carved, but that's fine. This is fine. Come back here. Actually, yeah, it's a very messy mesh. Yeah, I'm gonna have to subdivide it again. Yay, which I didn't want to do. There. Okay. We're just gonna work with that. think I have the line here now. As long as I keep nope. You now the line. At least I think. Ugh. Triangulation is a mess. Okay. Okay, here we go. Now that's starting to look like a straight-edged shadow, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're better. 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 Get you out of there. Better. Better. Aha. Okay. Okay, let's get this a little more spaced out better. Not dealing with all those little tiny bits in there. Okay. The trick to getting shadows aligned is we really just need to know at what point are things where they shouldn't be. I think that point is over here. So we're going to bring this in, going to bring this in, bring this in. This in. Aha. Yep. Just going to match this. Okay. Aha. This one is way up there, so that's fine. Okay. Let's sort this out now. Boop, boop, boop. Aha. Want this, 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 that, that. Okay. Okay. Right then. Just keep pulling these bits. UV mapping is annoying. Why are you... Okay. Okay. I don't know what's up with this little finger strand over here. Is it just... do I have things... Aha! I do have things kind of overlapped wrong. Okay, let's pull these. Okay, so you're what's giving me trouble. Why are you what's giving me trouble? Something to do with what's over here. Yep, okay. Ugh. Okay. Is it to do with you? Okay, messing with you. If I pull you in like that. Okay, gotta pull you in like that. If I pull this up. Pull this up. Pull this up. I'm mostly at this point just trying to shrink the potential issues here by okay, and if I okay, you know what? I think I'm gonna just roll with that slightly. Oh, wait. Hey, I think I've got that edge. I'm getting this edge sorted out now. Ugh. Okay. Okay. Um, 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 um. Okay, I'm gonna then just try and repeat what we just did with a whole nother set of lines. Okay. I'm gonna say, I think that, okay, that seems good. Now we just need to find that line that I just, okay, okay, okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Leave that one. Okay. Okay. That's getting somewhere. We're getting progress. We're making progress now. We just gotta... Oh, we're making progress now. We are making progress. Making progress. We are making progress. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's working better. Okay. Right then, you are right there, so we'll pull you, pull you, pull you. Then, okay, let's just start pulling these things. Oop, nope. Okay. Ugh. Projection mapping. Just when you think you get the hang of it, it throws you for another loop. just keep nudging this stuff a bit. This is going to be a very, very weird texture map. That is for sure. But the good news is we are starting to really get our heads around the proportions of this thing. Look at that. That's turning into a nice big square window-ish, isn't it? I think it is, at least. Okay, we found part of our line here. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so we're dealing with this vertex here, so we want that. This something more. And we're gonna have to shrink the points between these bit more. I have no way of knowing if I'm getting these right until I start to see the changes. As it stands. Oop. Okay. Okay. Start pulling these out here. Ugh, that's not at all what I want that to look like. Ugh. Looks kind of like an Among Us. Not what I want at all. Okay. But we are slowly getting the perspectives of this fixed. Ugh. Trick, of course, is just making sure that we're stretching our UV maps properly. And I really have no idea if I'm doing that at the moment. Let's see here. Nope, that's good. That's good. Okay, where's my edge here? Okay, there's my edge. Okay. Don't pull these up. shadows. Shadows are annoying. Okay. Why is that not? Ugh, okay. Okay, let's pull these down to here. And now we're starting to get this looking better. Problem is that we still have this huge section of gap here. So if we start trying to make the gap between these sections narrower. So you're now going to be over here, be over here. Yep, pull this in, pull this in. There we go. That's making that feel better. I'm gonna go for a knife tool again. If I can find a good angle for it. Okay, there we go. We're gonna come along down like that. And we're gonna go knife tool yet again. Come on. Come on, give me a good angle. There we go. There we go. Pull that. Pull that. Okay. just going to start pulling these. In. The trick here is going to be trying to level a shadow texture that is not leveled. Kind of like this, I think. Yeah, kind of like that. Okay. Okay. Mesh. Clean up. Limited. Oop! Nope, that was a mistake. Yeah. That was a mistake. Yep, okay. Then that's just complicated enough that I cannot do the limited dissolve anymore. Oh boy. Okay. Gonna just delete those faces just for simple. Actually, no, that was a dumb idea. You know what? I think I need to take a look at this in game and see how this looks. Because I'm getting so wrapped around my head in the UV editor. I need to see how this looks in game. This may be a short stream while I fuss on this. Off camera, maybe. Shadows are finicky. They are annoying to get right, and they look weird if you don't get them right. So. I think my main question at this point has got to be, Yeah, I think I know what I need to do next. I think I know what I need to do next, but I'll look at it. I'll do that after I take a look at it. Okay. Yeah, that's not quite. Ooh. Okay, so see, this is what happens when you do your blend passes wrong. So now my thing there is eating into the shadow, which is not. Anyway, look at all the shadows I got in here. I got the shadow along the ceiling, and I got these two shadows here. Yeah, I'm not animating the shadow of that thing moving. Yeah, I think I know what I'm doing wrong here now. I think I know what I'm doing wrong. And because I know what I'm doing wrong, I know what I need to do to fix it. Okay. For starters, let's come here. Material. Bug cage door. I'm going to set this to blend pass 10, just for the sake of it. That way it won't eat into the shadow. That part looked pretty good, though. Okay. So my problem right now is that I'm trying to connect 3 bookshelves to a wall. But my problem is I need to connect it to the wall through the floor, and I don't have a good idea of where that is at the moment. I don't know where their shadows are emerging from on the floor. So, what I need to do, tools, plane, view, reset. Well, we're going to do this. Yep. Tools. Subdivide. So essentially, what we got to do here is just get these sorted out. Oop. Yep, and do that. So yeah, if we do it like this. Yeah. Yep. Problem then becomes I need to subdivide that further because I'm not getting enough separation. Tools, subdivide. I'm just gonna delete those faces because they're not necessary. And once again, I need to set these to wired because I can't see what I'm doing. There we go. So, now, here's how we're going to solve the wall part by figuring out the floor part. Are you kidding me? Actually, I'm going to set this off to its own object just so I don't keep grabbing far wall when I need to do this. Okay. Okay. I'm going to take this whole edge here. I'm just going to stretch it out back here for the moment. Okay. Yep, and I'm going to have to subdivide it again, because I'm a dummy who forgot to hit one plane. Look at that. Delete face. Oh. But, fortunately, I don't think I'm going to need that particular bit, so we are going to consider ourselves lucky. I'm going to grab these. I'm just gonna gently tuck it in, a bit like that. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, see, once we have the floor alignment figured out, we can adjust the wall texture to fit better. Ah, you don't want that floating. No, wrong arrow. Mm, 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 mm. Okay. So yeah, this is starting to work better. Now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. Okay. And then I'm going to take this little line here that we just made. I'm just going to do that to give it a bit more of a oh, this is spreading out angle vibe. Whoop. Whoop. Yeah, that's the ticket. And I'm just gonna pull. How long? How long? Boop, boop, boop. Pull that. Pull that. Push that. Push that. Push. Push. And we're just going to take that and pull it out that way. Yeah! That's the ticket. And then we're just going to come along here. We're going to take all of this top section. Boop, 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 boop. And just delete those faces. Not like we're going to need them. Okay. Now then, we can start trying to adjust this thing to fit now. Oh, okay. But let's go check in-game again real quick to make sure that I got that lined up in a way that looks good in-game. And then we'll come along and trim some of that excess white space off of the mesh. load up, load up, load up, load up, load up. So yeah, I think this will make the shadows look better. Yeah, now that we have the floor figured out, we can align the walls better without needing to yeah, we can figure out the floor. We can figure out the wall better now that we have the floor figured out, and I think we can do it better than we did. I don't know why you keep bouncing around. Yeah, look at that floor lining. Yeah, that shadow's looking good. Yeah, I think. Yeah, the floor shadow part looks exceptional. Yeah. I'm gonna need to put a drop shadow on top of this thing, aren't I? Probably, yeah. Yeah, okay. Definitely know what I'm doing now. Okay. Okay, we're going to come back to this mesh. Tab A. We're going to mesh, clean up, limited dissolve. Yep, we just completely undid all of that work. But that is fine. Reason it is fine is because we are just not going to care about that alignment, because we're going to redo it all. So, we're just going to simplify this. We just flat out are gonna try to level it like so. I'm not going to worry about that bit that's clipping in from another area. Not yet, at least. Okay. You know what? Let's subdivide it, because that's where we're going to run into issues if I don't start doing that again. Okay, so. just try to get this to roughly line up. If I'm lucky. Oh, yeah, that's gonna clip right behind the window. That's fine. Yeah, that's gonna clip right behind the window. That's fine. That is fine with me. Okay. Let's keep raising all of these. Right. So, let's try to figure out where. Aha. Yeah, you're gonna need to be like over here. So yeah, we're gonna try to get these shadows to roughly line up. Because if we don't, yeah. Because if we don't get these to line up, yeah, that's gonna get a little weird. Okay. Okay. Okay, we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. Yeah, we're getting somewhere now. Yeah. We'll worry about the inside later. Let's just worry about shoring up the edges at the moment. You know what? I'm actually not opposed to a little bit of... Mm. Okay. I think... Come on. Okay, I think if I then... Yeah. Yeah, if I pull that, pull that. Okay. Yeah, we're getting there now. We're getting there now. We're getting there now. Okay. And if we pull this... Okay. That's starting to look better. Yeah, okay. Okay. I still have all of this down here that I now need to deal with by means of pulling it. Okay. I'm not going to worry about the bits that are... Aha. Here we go. Get in there. Okay. Now for some fine tuning. Yep. Okay. Okay, that's a little weird. That's very strange. What is... Ah, that's why that was not working, right? Because that was all in the wrong place. Okay, there we go. That should do the trick. Okay. Okay, I think. There we go. Yeah, there we go. I think we're closing in on it now, folks. I think we're closing in on the outlines. Okay. Yeah, we're getting somewhere now. We just gotta smooth out this edge here. Why is that not? Okay. Okay. Trying to get this one shadow straightened out is being very difficult. It's proving to be super difficult. It's not wanting to cooperate in the slightest. Ooh, hold on. I see a potential issue. Okay. What if I pull that? dealing with curved surfaces is weird. Super weird. But I think this one I gotta pull out a bit more. There we go. That should. Okay. I'm gonna test the age again. And then we're just gonna check the outside edges of the meshes, and then we're gonna clean up the inside. And then I think we'll call it. Guru is loading. There we go. We have a slight issue with our blend pass. That is to say, I need to pull the bottom edges of the wall thing forward more. Because otherwise our blend pass from below is kind of cropping it off. But look at that bird shadow right there. Not that you can easily see it from the ground, but look at that. I'm realizing I'm going to have to put shadows on top of these because, or at least on top of the big birdie one, because, oh, look at that. We've got a big old shadow casting on the wall there. Yay, and then the birdie's casting its own shadow, and okay. I think as far as the outside lines go, I think I have the shadows very good. That's a little weird, but I'll live with it. Yeah, I think as far as the outside outlines go, we are good. We just now have to shape the inside portions of the shadows, which I think I'm going to leave for off stream. I think you guys have watched me suffering with shadows for long enough. Main thing the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pull the bottom edges of this forward, because you can see it's clipping and it's doing the blend pass issues. Anyway, yeah, we will come back to this. I will hopefully have all of the shadow work done by the time we come to next week's stream. But yeah. That's looking better. A little wonky in the middle, but it's still looking better than it was. Right then, I'm gonna call it for the... Yeah, shadows are crazy. Oh yeah, the pod rad. That's gonna be fun to judge for. Shadows are crazy, but they make it all so much worth it. Can't wait for judging the pod rads. I cannot wait to see what crazy things people have come up with. That's gonna be cool. But yeah, so I'm gonna... Yeah. Before I forget, let's come on here. Boop. 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 And I'm just gonna scooch. Scooch. Oh, let's screw up my alignment. Not nearly enough to be worrisome. If it is, I'll fix it later. Yeah, yay, okay. Well, yeah, I'm gonna call it a stream. Thank you all for watching, and I will, see everyone next time. Bye.